Ding, ding.
I got something. We are live, folks, and
Ding, ding.
fair enough. And again, we're not yet formal live because what we're doing for those in the know, they'll find out. We'll discover start anywhere between 60 to 90 seconds in advance to do some background work to let you know it's not rehearsed, which it isn't. It's not pre-programmed, and we're doing it from the heart, you might say, from the mind also, because it has to make commercial sense for you who are listening. And we do hope you enjoy yourselves. So and this is still kind of new for me, so if I'm talking out loud as I'm thinking, it's like saying, well, what do I look at next? But myself, I'm Joe Wesley. You're looking at Tommy. What's your last name again? Hilcken. And what Tommy does...
7 weeks in, Joe. 7 weeks.
Fair enough. Thank you for the reminder. He's a motivational speaker, a coach, a speaking coach. And it intrigues me. What draws us together is we enjoy humor as a vehicle to deliver information, to deliver message, to engage people. And we also like to give forward. Other than that, we're completely different people, and we're having fun with it. So first off, Tommy, good morning. I hope you had a pleasant weekend. In fact, I hope you've had a good rest, because I really set the pummel on you today.
Oh, wow.
So
wow.
I'm going to start off in all fairness that I do have a conscience. And I say that in context that my job really is to challenge Tommy to explain why he believes that public speaking and confidence, you aren't necessarily born with it to make it happen. They kind of grow together, and he's the guy to make it happen for you. And not just he can do it, but why is it important? Why should I be concerned? Now, so my role is not my role, my intent is to attack it and get him to defend himself. Now, I said earlier that I have a sense of conscience. And that's important because I didn't give a subject the last Monday we did. And I actually almost felt sorry for Tommy. He's doing his rope-a-dope as I'm pummeling him in the corner for half his lifestyle, try to come up with a solution or an answer. So you're right about that. My experience, not my age, my experience. So we will give topics. And it's important because if you, the audience, doesn't see the topic you want or it stimulates a thought you haven't had, please share it, because we do review the comments you make, even if it's after this program, about what you're thinking, what you're sharing, and feel free to holler out to myself or to Tommy about what you think about it. So anyway, today the subject matter, Tommy, is this comes back in the day when we still had physical meetings with people. And I would hear somebody who does, say, a website, would talk to somebody about, well, you should really do a website, not to me, but because I have one, people around me. Or I might ask, well, did you have a website? Do you do a blog? And they oftentimes, almost 100%, will drop their eyes and say, no, I don't do a blog. And I ask them, why not? They say, because I have nothing to say. Which kind of intrigued me, the concept. So a blog is a written statement. It could be a video blog, I guess, in today's world, but it's still a matter of presenting yourself. So I see the exact same thing in terms of public speaking. So my question to you today is, how do you respond to people regarding public speaking when their mindset is, I have nothing to say?
Well, it's a great thing. Easy enough for me to say is everyone has a story. That no matter who you are, you have some experience, you have some strength, some things you've gone through that you've gotten through, and you have hope for people who are struggling, right? Most of us just look at ourselves and say, oh, I'm just living this kind of life. But you've probably gotten through something that you can help somebody else with by showing them how you got through it. And we do that pretty much by storytelling. We say it all the time. Most of the time, we think of public speaking as bigger than life. But sometimes it's just a simple conversation with someone, which is truly public speaking. And again, communication skills, how to connect with a human being. So what you're really saying is, how do we get out there? How do we deliver our message? I want everybody to keep in mind that there is a message that you have inside of you that can help someone else. And I guarantee that no matter what, maybe you lost a job, maybe you got fired, maybe you lost income. Right? With all these challenges how did you get through it? Maybe you could save somebody some grief by telling them how you got through it,
Hmm.
and perhaps they can follow the same path in getting through it themselves. So that's why I believe in communicating. It could be on any level as a human being.
That's an interesting point. What comes to mind as I hear you talk, and every now and then I do listen to you.
You do. Thank you.
What
Who am
comes
I?
to huh?
Who am I?
Let me get back to that in a moment. What comes to mind is it's not just telling or sharing your story. It's about sharing your character. I mean, that's how I look at it. That it's anybody can say, I could say I can beat Muhammad Ali. And you might actually believe it if you've never seen me do my rope-a-dope format. But to get me in the ring with that person and see if I'm up to mettle, that's what to me makes the distinction between those who talk the talk and walk the walk. And I don't want to be trivial about terminology, but I think to me, I would think, and I want your opinion, that you learn to speak publicly. We're talking to business people more than performers, that you want to get your word out. And if two people, I don't want to pick on web designing, so we'll say if two people say they repair overhead garage doors at the same meeting, how am I going to make a choice? Mm-hmm. And what would be your criteria in the audience why they would choose one presenter over the other when they get their 2-minute soundbite, you might say? What would draw you being in the industry?
It's great. We first connect with the being, right? Before we even know what they're doing, right? So someone in their pitch has to put a light on in your head that they could possibly be a trusted advisor, someone that you trust and you're open to listen to their advice. And that's why even public speaking, when you're at a networking event, putting that pitch together, that 2-minute pitch, that 45-second pitch, whatever it might be, all you're doing is planting the seed in someone's head. You had mentioned about character, right? And people generally, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's the truth about doing business. They don't care how much you know. They really, all they want to know is how much you care, right? Because that's what it comes down to. How can you help me? Are you the person? I'm glad we connected. Let's talk. So that's what I think. It's communication.
And I also see some, and communication just hit me again. Not that you did it, of course. In terms of communication, it's more than just verbiage. It's also style. One of the things, being a on-learning student of video presentation, is eye contact. As I'm talking, I find myself over here, over there, anywhere else. But as I watch Tommy, he's always looking in the camera. And so I think making eye contact, I guess, the nuances of presenting, and more than just the verbiage of the story. Could you share some of that, what you see in terms of what you do to help someone get into that speaking mode?
Well, you're taking it to online presentations, and why I'd like to bring that up, it's a great moment right now. Can you really make eye contact? Well, the one thing you can do now is connecting with people in a virtual environment is facial expressions, which includes eye contact, right? Looking at the camera. You know, even if one of the habits you can do is, and I listen, I'm not perfect at this either. I got thrust into doing more and more of this myself. Now, I'm a live guy. I want to be in front of an audience. That's how I connect with people. But if you shut yourself off and just focus on the audience and focus where they are and stop looking and seeing what you're doing, it'll make the presentation all that much better. But making eye contact, a smile goes a long way virtually, right? Using gestures, if you can use them, you know, like whatever it might be, using your hands a little bit. Be active. Be the same person you would be live to connect with people. But, you know, the eyes are the windows to the soul. So when you can literally look at someone and focus on them for a little bit, 3 to 5 seconds, because anything longer than 3 to 5 seconds makes someone feel uncomfortable, and anything longer than 3 to 5 seconds makes you a stalker. So, you know, you got to be careful you're not making anyone in your audience uncomfortable by looking at them all that too much.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
And you talk about ambiance. I get that increasingly. When we first got on, just before we went live on the presentation, Tommy asked me, how do I like his background? And I think he was giving the impression that he had choreographed this and set it into play for what he wants to do. I just want to let you know he's in a prison cell. And that's the wall behind him.
Well,
Fair enough.
How's that good?
I think we can almost see that that's his scrawling, right? Keeping time of the day. So that's what that's about. So anyway, again, what we have here, and thank you, Arlene, for your commentary. We try to present ideas, and not we collectively. I really am not by any stretch a connoisseur of public speaking and the confidence paired with that. So I'm asking questions that I hope relates to our audience and what they might otherwise be asking. More importantly, I want to let you know there's no such thing as a dumb question, because if you're gaining knowledge, it's always a good question. And sometimes I tell Tommy he's prolific. He is accomplished in what he does, and he has a lot of presentations out there. Just look his name up in Facebook or LinkedIn, your choice. And almost 2 or 3 times a day, he's presenting things of relevance. And I'm not saying this to build him up. I'm setting him up, you might say. That gives me the chance to trail behind him and pull out tidbits of its exclamations and then put it back in his face. But just in case I miss something, you in the audience, please feel free to share with me your questions, your comments that may come out of this. So what we're talking about here is, again, public speaking and confidence. And to me, it's kind of like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you have a response on how that works together so they grow together?
Well, you know what? A lot of people are thrust into public speaking because they have to. And really, when life starts to change is when you start to do things because you want to, right? So that's the gap that you want to close. A lot of times you're thrust into it. Hey, we're having a board meeting. We need you to speak today. So all of a sudden your heart starts pounding. You get scared. You get nervous, and you got to do what you got to do, but you have to do it. And really, when you start to grow as a business person, even as a person, is when you start to realize that, hey, I want to do this. This is enhancing my business. It's enhancing me personally. And all of that stuff comes into play when you really, really want to start doing public speaking. When I made the shift, when I made when I grew into who I wanted to be, I started to do it because I wanted to do it. And I'll share this with you, Joe. And by the way, the wall is there because every Monday morning I feel like I'm banging my head up against the wall talking with you. Just in case.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you for the compliment.
It's a reminder how I keep banging my head up against the wall. But even when it came down to it, I had some stinking thinking. I was locked into my paradigms, were locked into who I was. And we really were thrust into virtual presentations, right? And I literally, only reason I was doing them was because I had to. I had to shake my paradigms up, change my belief system, and now I can literally get on and do them because I want to. I've expanded everything in my business because of this great platform that we have here that can spread our business nationally, if not internationally. Whereas if I was doing this live in Parsippany, New Jersey, I could only get X amount of people in, let's say 50 to 70 people. Right now, you can get hundreds, if not thousands of people listening to you giving your presentation. Exactly. What a great, great way to look at this virtual platform. To me, it's life-changing and business-changing.
I hear that. And actually, you brought up another thought, another challenge, another punch, to put it in perspective. We were talking earlier about people who say have, quote, nothing to say about their 30-second soundbite. My gut reaction is, if you've got nothing to say about your business, why should I have interest in your business?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you've said, that you establish your presence, your viability, but at some point, clearly you have a story to share that maybe I haven't thought about. Perspective at minimal, even if my initial response is no, I don't have a story to share, it gets me to think, in all fairness.
Well, sharing first and foremost, if everybody on this call or anyone who listens to this recording, you have an experience that you can share. So if you could share your experience, no matter what it might be, listen, we've all have a background in work and personal life, share your experience, something you've got through. So just think of it as sharing your experience, how that can change things in people's worlds. So we all have different experiences.
Sure. And I can interrupt, because that goes into what Robert was just asking, is the difference between public speaking, communicating to someone on a daily basis. And do you see one as a prelude to the other, or is it a different mindset?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Is there a difference between public speaking and communicating to someone on a daily basis? That's by Robert Burr. So my question is the implication is that somehow public speaking is different and
I
Trim
got
is
you.
a style.
Yeah, I hear it exactly. So here's the story. Here's how I explain it best. Public speaking training. When you become trained in public speaking, your communication with people, even if it's one-to-one, will go through the roof. You'll know how to pause, how to talk, how to get your words across where people can understand them. So that training that comes from professional public speaking leads to all types of communication, no matter what it might be. I've even become a better writer because God has blessed us with this great technology. You can now go onto a Word document and speak your words in, and Word types it out for you. So as a person, I didn't think I was a storyteller in a verbal form, like literally typing it out. I can now just present onto Word and it types it out for me. So, there's many, many ways to communicate. One of the best ways is learn through public speaking, which will certainly, absolutely make you a better communicator.
Sounds good.
So yes, they go hand in hand.
Oh, well, thank you. We're almost through for 15 minutes. What I'd like to do, I'll say a public service announcement, and just a little bit of politics. That I hope you voted. If you haven't, please do, because it's not a matter of supporting your candidate against the other. It's really a matter about supporting the value of the right of democracy. So if you haven't voted, please do that, regardless. Otherwise, thank you again, Tommy. Thank you for those who've made comments. For those who are looking at this on the review side and not the live side or the replay side, please feel free to make your comments still, because we do follow up on it, and I am looking for Tommy punching comments and questions to ask. Anything else, Tommy, before we close out?
No, I think you called me atomic, which was fantastic.
Oh, really? I have a stutter, so that's what that came out.
You can call me Atomic Tommy. I like that going forward from now on. Okay.
Yeah, the atomic waste syndrome. I get that. All right. So long, and thanks again.
See you guys.